first of all, shout out to Margarita. You are nasty. Harry and his wife are nasty, vile people, and you are the same. You know nothing about the royal family. Well, thank you, Margarita. It's 6 o'clock somewhere. I'll drink to that. Thank you for the fine compliment, and I'm hoping you'll have a great and wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. Well, apparently Margarita had a bone to pick with me. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Margarita. Thank you, Margarita. It's 6 o'clock someplace. I mean, you could just hear the frustration in every keystroke with this comment. Poor Margarita is just seething and salivating with anger. She's frothing at the mouth with frustration. I love it. Maybe she drinks, maybe snorts blow, maybe she's a mess wherever she goes. Thank you for the rather insulting comment, and also thank you for giving me the opportunity to practice my show tunes. You may recognize that parody from the hit musical Annie. Okay, so full disclosure, I have actually watched the documentary. Yes, that documentary. I've actually watched it. Last night before I went to bed, there was actually someone's post or tweet, if you will, which actually had a link where I could watch it. And so I was like, okay, I'll watch it. And so I did. And much to my dismay, the one thing that I wanted to avoid that was obviously unavoidable, and that was seeing some of the usual suspects, the royal reporters. Like, for instance, if I tell you there was one that had the largest surface area of coverage on any face I've ever seen in all of the royal reporting, then of course I'm speaking of Camilla Tominey. And if I tell you I saw someone who had the largest surface area of coverage on a human body on any reporter, not to mention kind of oily and soaking wet, of course I'm speaking of Robert Jobson. And somewhere in between was, you know, there's a joke there, but I'm not going to say it. Dan Wootton was somewhere in between. You know, someplace where he's comfortable. So Dan Wootton took a lot of glee in saying that he was the first one to mention the whole thing about the tiara. He said that there wasn't much bad coverage until he finally decided that, I think I'll be the first. Well, that's debatable. It depends on what you want to consider what's bad and when did it actually first come out. But he is more than comfortable with the fact that what he said and done has had such a detrimental effect, not only on the Duchess of Sussex, first and foremost, but Harry, Doria, the entire royal family. So much of what's been said and done has caused a lot of pain and anguish even for you and me. But he was glad that he was the one, in his opinion, that really started the ball rolling when it came to the negative reports. Of course, he doesn't see it that way, that it's negative, of course, is in the public interest or whatever. But, okay, so he was proud of the whole thing with the tiara. But may I tell you this? The whole thing with the tiara never made sense to me. Now, of course, the Sussex Squad always has receipts. We keep receipts. I have receipts myself. You know, sometimes when you watch my videos and you see that I have sourced some information from somewhere, well, some of those receipts I've actually cataloged so that they're there when I need them. So when you see certain things, it wasn't that I had to search the web for it. I kept it. Now, mind you, I'm not as efficient as, say, the Library of Alexandria, but I have my moments. But, okay, all of that stuff, okay, I've said what I had to say about the documentary. I don't think that it's gone far enough, in my opinion, to help the Sussexes, but of course, I guess it does affirm the facts that a lot of people have already figured out, and that is that KP was very instrumental in driving the Sussexes out of the United Kingdom. They were very instrumental. And even to this day, and Dan Wootton even says, the calls are coming from inside the house. I don't know what he gets out of saying that, but to me it seems like he gets a kick out of being the big gossip. But he said before that most of the information is coming from Kensington Palace. Okay, so let me say this about the tiara. Aside from everything else that has come out over the past 28, 48 hours, the past week, the Tiaragate, if you will, I hate that term, didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense because the Duchess of Sussex reportedly has said, I like a nice clean line. I like an elegant clean line. I like a very modern clean line. That's her approach to fashion. Most of her jewelry is very small. You don't really see her with the big clunky pieces. So when someone says, oh, she had a hissy fit, she went bridezilla because she couldn't get the big emerald tiara, please, that plays into the worst stereotypes of a woman of color I could think of, that everything's got to be big and gaudy and expensive and conspicuously expensive. I mean, that's the right word. Conspicuously abundant, opulent. When in truth, the Duchess of Sussex likes everything very modern and sensible and to scale. And so this whole idea of wearing this big flashy, colorful emerald tiara just did not make sense to me. She wore the Queen Alexandra Cartier bandeau tiara, which is very Art Deco in design. I mean, it comes from the Art Deco age. Very clean, elegant lines. Everything very tapered and formed with rich in details, but not over the top, not exuberantly over the top with details. That's Art Deco. The Duchess of Sussex, she was probably, if I had to say, do I think she could have ever had another life, it would have to have been in the Art Deco era. You know, I don't believe in that stuff, but if I was to say that she had a previous life, it would have been Art Deco, because that speaks to her taste. And so it never made sense to me, this whole thing about an emerald tiara. In what universe does that exist? So, okay, because the, I'm getting excited, I just had coffee. Because the Sussex squad, the squaddies always keeps our receipts. I got receipts. I have things that are cataloged because I never know when I'm going to need them again. So I have those to go back to. So this is probably a keeper for me. The Evening Standard. Emails reveal Queen helps Meghan choose tiara. Newspaper stories had claimed there was a dispute between Harry and Queen's aide over jewelry. Well, this story here in the Evening Standard is saying that didn't happen. She wrote, the Queen, Harry, and Meghan all present. She tried on 5 tiaras and the Queen asked her which she preferred. Meghan asked the Queen her preference and the Queen said they all suit her, and Meghan chose the diamond one, which the Queen agreed was perfect. Shame to see such a beautiful, sweet moment skewed in media. There was no conversation about any other tiara as a preference. Meghan loved the one she wore, and it remains a very special memory. That's why I'm so frustrated. This really, really touches a nerve with me. Because why take that away from her with a bunch of negativity? Why take that moment away by turning it into something terrible? The simple answer is because they can. Because they're bullies. Because it was a special moment between a future granddaughter-in-law and the Queen, and they found a way to destroy that. So let me give you another reason why I think that it just didn't make sense. Why in the world would you present a tiara that has all this baggage and should never be worn in public again? Why would you choose that as one of the choices for her and then say, oh no, you can't have that, so that would mean that whatever petty nature that you're trying to paint as her personality set point, that she's going to have some type of meltdown and, oh, I got to have that one even if she doesn't want it. It just did not make sense. Why would you even present something that should never be worn? I would assume that the Queen's dresser, if the Queen's dresser selected a selection of tiaras for Meghan to choose from, why would that even be available to her? The idea that she had 5 to choose from makes more sense than she went down in some kind of crypt or a vault or something like that, and some big iron door, some gigantic wooden door from the Middle Ages open, and there was torches rather than fluorescent lights. They had to light torches like they're in some type of movie or something, Indiana Jones, just to find a tiara that she was later refused, and then she had a meltdown. That did not happen. Okay, so let's go to the Mirror. Here's another receipt from Twitter. Harry and I gone to Buckingham Palace to meet the Queen. The Queen to select one of the options that were there, which was an incredibly surreal day, as you could imagine. Now, this particular account comes from those handheld devices that they give you when you take the tour. Those interactive devices where you can walk around with it up to your ear and you get an explanation about everything that you're looking at. Well, they do have those in most museums and so many of the palaces where you can get a detailed explanation about everything. So this is the account given by Harry and Meghan. So I believe that's Meghan's voice that was placed in text in the Mirror's report about the situation. Okay, so, and then it goes on, and that tiara was the one that I think, as we tried them on, stood out. Now, this is Meghan's voice. I think it was just perfect because it was clean and simple. Did you get that, everybody? Clean and simple lines. It was clean and simple. So in this article, it goes on to say that she wanted a tiara that would seem like it was naturally made, like an extension of what was going on with her wedding gown, which by anybody's account, and of course some people just didn't like it because they thought it was too simple, but she wanted something that it says here would be incredibly timeless but still feel modern. And as a result of that, it turns out that her gown was incredibly popular. Now, some people actually wanted that silhouette, but they added some embellishments that took it away from her original design. But as we know, the gown was a big hit. And it also proves that people who had this assumption that Meghan was only in anything for profit and that she only cared about material things, she certainly chose the most simplistic look that could be replicated by just about anybody, anywhere, for little or no money. I mean, you could just go to the knockoff section of any fabric store and buy some white fabric and make a very similar gown at a fraction of what you would pay for any other gown, and you would look incredibly beautiful, timeless, and elegant. My opinion, of course. And of course, Harry's response was that, oh, this was every girl's dream to be able to try on a tiara, and funnily enough, that the one that suited her the best, the one that looked the best, without any question. I shouldn't have really been there, Harry said, but such an incredible loan by grandmother, it was very sweet. Meghan chose Queen Mary's diamond bandeau, which, okay, that was it. She chose that one. Harry was there. In the movie, it depicts Harry calling and having this meltdown and what Meghan gets. None of that made any sense to me. It didn't make sense then, and it doesn't make sense now. This was all created to diminish Meghan's character, to try to dress her down, to make her look like she was some type of tyrant. And so at some point, at the end of the documentary, it was mentioned that Dan Wootton gave one version of the tiara story, and that Robert Jobson gave a different version of it. Robert Jobson made it look like it was Harry that was blamed for this incident. And then, of course, Dan Wootton blamed the Duchess of Sussex for it. So there you have it, an inconsistency. And both likely a total misrepresentation of the actual event. So if you're wondering, Baron, why do you get so frustrated sometimes? Why do you get so flustered? Why do you pull the knives out and start saying some of the things that you say? Because it's the only way that I can release some of the frustrations I have. And it is incredibly frustrating. I feel like something has been taken away from not just myself, but from everyone who has this emotional investment with the Sussexes, for whatever reason. Now, some of you go much further back with the Duchess of Sussex than most squatties, because you are actually following her career for a long time. But for myself, it all started Thanksgiving 2017, or the day or two after Thanksgiving, when I heard that there was going to be a wedding. And I knew, having recently purchased a ticket in advance for an April 2018 trip to Europe, I can go to the wedding. I can be in the crowd. If I can just get close to a jumbotron and be with the people, this would be like 1981 all over again, when Princess Diana got married. I think it was 81. So I was ready for it. I was excited about it. And after that, I'm like taking this crash course of everything Meghan Markle. By the time the wedding come, I was expert on everything Meghan Markle. Only for all of this madness to occur. And then it was like, what in the world happened? How could she be all of these things that I learned about before the wedding, but now they're telling me she's this and she's that? And I just didn't believe it. Because you know what? Believe me when I say this, if you live long enough, you're going to see everything twice. I've lived through having a mayor of a very racist city that happened to be African American. That sent people into meltdown. You had people who were excited about this great tolerance that we have, only for some of those people to turn around and say, oh, I'm so disappointed, I didn't vote for him. That mayor took the city into the highest bond rating that it ever had, but that didn't matter. I lived through an African American president who saved the economy, who saved the economy, not just for the United States, for probably the entire Western industrialized world. Only for some of those people who were glad to demonstrate their tolerance by voting for him, pretend like they didn't vote for him, or accusing him of being a traitor, a Muslim, etc. So when this happened to the Duchess of Sussex, oh, we have a black princess. We have a multiracial princess. We have a woman of color princess. It doesn't surprise me that this happened. What really bothers me is that this happened again. Not that it happened, but that it happened again. I've lived through this. I know what it's like. And for those of you that are new to this, I'm sorry that you've had this rude awakening, but as I say, I've lived through it several times, and it never gets any easier. First black senator, first woman senator, didn't matter. The fact that she was black, oh, the attacks never stopped. I've lived through it, and I know what it's like, and I know how frustrating it is. And so when people ask me, Baron, why are you so involved in this? She could take care of herself. She's rich. That's not the point. The point is the principle of it. Does that mean that if I ever found myself in a similar position as a mayor or a senator, or even if it's a doctor or a lawyer, am I to be diminished because of the fact that I happen to be African American? Or mostly African American? Partly African American? All it takes is that African blood, and then all of a sudden, you really shouldn't be vice president. How did you get there? You know, why is it this keeps happening? Why could you take someone as accomplished as the vice president of the United States and diminish her character just because of her skin color, just because her parents were minorities? And as with the vice president, as with the former president, as with quite a few other people, oh, their parents were foreign born. Oh, this is a backlash because they're an immigrant. Or, you know, it's always something. I just heard something today that the name expat, expatriate, that's something that people of Europe love to say, or people from the United States, whenever they go to another country, they call themselves expats. If someone brown from another country comes to the United States, or if they come to, say, the United Kingdom, then they're immigrants. They're not expats, they're immigrants. Well, what is the difference? What is the difference? So there's an expat community if they're mostly white, and there's an immigrant community if they're mostly brown. See how that works out? I learned something new today. So I want you to help me say that you're sick of it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Sack! That's it for now. Please like, subscribe, share, donate, etc. If you would like to make a donation and you don't know how, to help support this channel, you can go to the comments section where you can find links to the Patreon, the PayPal, and the Cash App. Thanks for watching Royal Sussex.